Coach Jennabeth, JB aho. Welcome. I'm really touched that there's so many of you here to listen to my weirdness. As you can see, I collect a lot of things. I have a number of very weird items. I have a horse's hoof from a horse at the riding school who died. We buried him. I scavenged his hoof with his shoe on. It's extremely interesting to look at if you're interested in anatomy. I have a paw mask from a lion at the zoo. I was privileged to be at the zoo when the elephant was euthanized and buried. I had hoped that I would get a piece of the skeleton, but that was not to happen. I have skulls. I have a number of bits of glass. I love glass. I collect various bits of glass. But whenever I go to the beach, I pick up bits and pieces. Oh, sorry, I'm shaking. This, I think, is an amazing treasure. It's a Disprin bottle. The bottom, it has Disprin written on it. And I found this in Lao Bay. So we'll just start. I'm quite happy if you want to ask questions as we go along. Some of this, I hope, doesn't offend people because there are a few bits of grossness, okay? So taxidermy is defined as the art of preparing, stuffing, and mounting animal hide or skin. We've been, as humans, I think we've been doing this for a very long time. The Egyptians obviously preserved animals to go into the graves with the pharaohs. And I think what has influenced me the most is the Victorians, who I think slaughtered a lot of animals so that they could have their little curiosities. And the photograph on the poster was of birds that people had collected, and also butterflies. Thousands of butterflies have been preserved. So we're going to start. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about small rodents and birds and how to taxidermy them. I went to a workshop at Zealandia 2019, and I had my mind blown. I think halfway through the course, I burst out laughing, and anybody in the Department of Surgery will know that I can be very loud and noisy. I had this moment. It was like, wow, everything that I have done in my life has brought me to this point. This was the most awesome thing I'd ever done. I work in the Department of Surgery, obviously. Lots of surgery, sharp knives, blood, guts. I think if I'd had my time again, I would have liked to have been a surgeon. I have been to some surgeries where it's like, move out of the way, I want to see what's going on here. So I'm just going to go through a few things that you need to do. Setting up the equipment that you need. Obviously, some nice sharp instruments, scissors, scalpels, tweezers, pliers, all those kinds of things for cutting and slicing. We need paper towel to keep everything clean. We need some cotton buds to be scooping out all the bits of brain material, eyes, some wire, some borax, which is the main element for preserving the animal's skin once you've got it off, detergent, quick dry cement, glue, and a hairdryer. Now this was mind-blowing to me because the things that you put inside to make your form, we can either use cotton or wood wool or expanding foam, all those things that you use in DIY. And at the bottom there's some little eyes. Here are some more eyes. So you can go online and you can buy eyes, any form that you like. Over here is a variety of things for birds and reptiles. This is for a cat with green eyes. So depending how you remember your cat and its eye colour, you can pick the right eyes. This is my favourite shop. You can go here and you can buy absolutely everything that you need for taxidermy. The most important thing that you can do is to measure, weigh, photograph your animal. So little lorikeet getting ready. First incision. You make a midline decision and start peeling back the skin. Here it is with just its skull attached. Its little paws have been detached as well from the rest of its body. Don't look if you're squeamish. Now we're peeling back the skin from the skull. This is not my hands, because at this point I was in the course, I was like too excited to be taking photographs. Then you give them a lovely wash. You give them a wash and detergent, and that takes out a lot of the extraneous material that's been left on the skin. And the next thing after that is you give them a bath in concentrated borax, at least for an hour, more if you have a larger specimen. Take it out, and especially with birds, you give them a good blow drying. So you blow dry all their feathers or their skin. Here is a bird that has been prepared. It's got its little form in place. It's had its legs wired. The wire has now gone through its feet, and there will be wires coming through onto its wings as well. You sew it up, and then then you sew it up and place it in however position that you have decided to place it in. So these are less gross. So it's a possum. So you can see here that it's been a skin has been prepared, and now the person is preparing the little form on the shape that they desire. Here, with a larger rodent, they have actually taken the head out and made a form of its skull, and made a little plaster Paris form ready to go onto the head. Here's the possum being prepared and all wired up. You can see it all coming together. Here it is, all sewn up, ready to go. And there it is in its final form. So with bigger birds, you can imagine with ducks, their beak and their feet are obviously more substantial than a little duckling like this one, who has got very delicate little piece of skin there, and the borax will preserve it and dry it out. Here, these are bigger, and this was revolutionary to me as well, because you can go online and buy duck feet and heads. So that's where it's critical to measure your animal, because then you can go online and request whatever it is that you like.
Are you buying real ones that are professionally preserved?
They're made out of plaster or plastic. Now with the birds, I like birds a lot. With the birds, once you've got your form and you've got them sitting on how you want them to be, you have to preen every feather so that it lays down properly. And then you start pinning and wiring them up so that as it all dries up, they all stay in place. It's like, these are not my photographs, these are what people have done, but this is what happens. They so intensely prepare and hold everything into place. Magnificent quail, all prepared, looking absolutely gorgeous. So once you've got your specimens, you can start creating beautiful pieces of art. And I think the picture that was on the original poster is very typical of that. It becomes art rather than just an animal sitting alone or as a specimen in a museum. You start creating art. That would be fun at home, I think. So when we get on to butterflies and insects, we have a slightly different preservation for them. Any one of you who will have seen me walking to work, I often have my head down looking on the ground, looking for things that may have died, like bumblebees or butterflies, because you don't have to necessarily kill a bumblebee or a butterfly in order to taxidermy it. So what you do is this process called relaxing your insect. So you place the insect into a container which has got water and ethanol, usually a half and half mix, and you seal the container up, and the moisture that comes up will rehydrate the insect, and then you can obviously pin it out and make it into the shape that you want and create lovely creations like this. When I was in Melbourne last year, I went to a shop which sold taxidermied animals, and they had most beautiful butterflies, and I was very tempted to buy one until the man told me that they were bred specifically for this purpose. And that made me very sad, because that meant that butterfly never had a life. It was bred specifically to become a taxidermied specimen. All of you hunters out there, shoot your deer, you go along to have it taxidermied. It's like, excuse me, madam, how would you like your deer displayed? You can buy a form. They have legs, facial expressions. So again, you measure your deer, you make your request, and then once the animal is skinned, then it is fitted over the form. I love this. I would like this at home, but he costs he is for sale, $500,000. I have been up close and personal to a polar bear when I went to Churchill in Manitoba, and I swear that that's exactly what they look like. This is a magnificent specimen, and of course you can buy the form for the polar bear. Those of us who have been to the Natural History Museum, I know that a lot of people would probably just skim by going, oh my God, it's just dead animals. I was fascinated, because not only with the animals that were on display, but it's the background. And when you look really closely at what else was in the diorama, there were little insects, there were other smaller animals, the plant life. And I was probably staring more closely going, where's the incision line? Where did they sew that up from? Okay, so the next part is more about some art that I like, taxidermy art that I like, and where I want to go in the future. Sometimes you don't have the time to do all the things to make your form, and you end up with just the skin. So this is a 2D image of this ibis. So it's been placed behind glass and photographed. It just means that you could probably make more of these specimens in a day. There's a lovely owl here. And this is going to be one of my next projects, because I have a duck in the freezer. This is a lady that I work from a lady that I follow. Her name is Polly Morgan. And interestingly, since the 1970s, there has been a resurgence in taxidermy, and it's mostly women that are doing it. This I put here especially for Peter Larson, but he's not here. It's kind of like, it's no longer an animal, but she has used a piece of a hedgehog. She's now moved into snakes, and I am not a snake fan. She's doing some really weird stuff at the moment with like fingernails, and it's like, I've gone, yeah, I can't do this any longer. I'm not sure if any of you have seen these before, but this is a bit of a trend at the moment, to have deer with human faces. I think at the end of the day, this is what I would aspire to. It's something that Darwin had in his little collection. So I kind of think that I'm on the road with my pieces here to match his. And from that workshop, this is my man. This is Jules. Jules reminds me every day of how I need to be more observant of animal life. When have you ever seen a rat stand like this? It's like, he is not perfect by any amount of means. His ears have gone a bit dry. His eyelids have moved on his fake eye. But he reminds me every day of what I have to achieve. And I'm actually really proud of him.
Was he your first?
He's my first. He's from my workshop.
Right.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? What do you want to know?
How long does it take to...
A day.
Right.
A day. And that just was amazing, because if a person, a skilled taxidermist, if they're doing like a deer, that if they take the whole hide off in a day and they start the preservation process, once they have the form, it's very, very quick. If you're doing something a little bit more complicated, like the polar bear, obviously he's going to have a bit of spray painting around his mouth, his claws and things like that. People take a lot of time and care to try and make them as realistic as possible. Like with the ducks, when you have the form, they're all painted, and people look at photographs to see exactly the colour and how those ducks' feet are going to look. Yes, John?
So, Jennabeth, after an animal dies, how much time have you got before you need to set to work?
You should do it either straight away, or if you can't deal with the animal at that time, pop them into a plastic bag, take the air out, put it in the freezer.
In your separate taxidermy?
No, Rebecca, no. Someone in the department asked me that before. I have in my freezer, I have 2 rabbits, the duck, a sparrow, and a blackbird. A blackbird. I mean, if you've collected it, you know where it's been. And honestly, if you're putting it into a plastic bag, sealing it up and taking all the air out, what's going to come out? Nothing. It's no different from having a frozen piece of meat. Well, that's my view anyway.
As long as you don't defrost the wrong one.
Yeah, the wrong one.
Can you stop taxidermy halfway and put it back in the fridge?
Yes, you can. So that you can get to the point of taking the skin off and then popping it back into the plastic bag, put it back in the freezer until you have time to do the next steps. I think that people have problems with their taxidermy when the animal is not fresh, because things that happen as the feathers start to fall out because there is decay within that layer. And also the fur starts to come away from the rodents, the bigger animals. So dealing with them as quickly as you can is quite important.
When you're choosing the form, do you do they dry out much and shrink much? Or
I think that once you have the form and the measurements and you then have your skin, you're going to be putting it on as soon after as you can, so it actually forms around. If you feel the duck actually he's like a squeaky toy because he has got cotton inside him, okay, but where Jules has got the foam. Yes, Sean?
With butterflies and bees, don't you need to clean out the inside?
No, because they've already kind of become desiccated. All that's gone. I have had a failed marine specimen. I found a mantis shrimp on the at Lyle Bay, and it was quite big. It was about this big, and I was like, oh wow, that's going to be great for my seashore little exhibition. And I did scoop its insides out, but unfortunately I kind of got it all and it just rotted away and was quite gross and smelt.
What was his name? Jules.
Jules.
With Jules, you said like that his ears are a bit dry and that his eyelids have receded a little bit. Is there anything you can do to stop that, or is that just natural?
Well, I think sometimes what you can do is you can pin them. You can put little clips and pins to make them sit how you want. With his eyelids, I perhaps wasn't as attentive when he came home, because before it actually kind of dries up completely, you can carefully pull the skin over to cover his eyes or cover their eyes.
So is he a bit alarmed?
Yeah, tiny bit. Yes, Kerry.
You said there was a resurgence, and since what was it, the 70s, and it seems to be women. Do you have a theory about how?
No, I don't know. I think I know why I went here, because everything that I've done in my life has clearly led me here. But these are younger women who probably weren't, they were doing art before, but obviously have moved in this direction for some reason. No idea.
Is there money to be made?
Well, if you have a polar bear. I think people with hunting trophies, you know, you can, depending on what you want, you're looking at probably 30 grand, you know. So in New Zealand, you're not allowed to taxidermy any native wildlife. The DOC has specific people that they ask and have permission to deal with native animals.
how many pieces have you got at home? Like, is your house full?
No, because of how I source my animals, I don't have a lot, and I haven't dedicated as much time. It's like you have to get up in the morning and go, this is all I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do anything else. And not quite in that place yet, but every now and again I will do something, take the skin off, put it back in the freezer, hoping that I will get to it eventually. So in the meantime, it's like collecting things which I can use to make my little display. I have Roadkill Rosie. Roadkill Rosie is a female blackbird. She was killed by a car in front of me. I literally pulled onto the pavement, leapt out, picked her up, and she is sitting in a knee-cow palm with a nest beside her, but she has terrible brain damage. Her skull was shattered and she has a giant scar which goes right the way down her head and round her neck, which I didn't see when I picked her up because the feathers were all covering it.
JB, if you could taxidermy anything, what would it be?
Oh.
Grail of taxidermy.
It would have to be a bird. Quite keen on a magpie. My daughter, I drove up north to Whangarei at Christmas. My daughter hates being in the car with me because every time I see a magpie on the road, stop, get out. Thank God she understands me and she does just roll her eyes. Yes, John?
JB, I'm just trying to get the timeline right, but many years ago, and people may not be aware of this, you used to run a very active animal facility downstairs. So did this come after that? Or
Yeah, after that.
Right.
Yeah. But I think, no. I think that time there, and being obviously in theatre with you and Brett, John, that was fascinating, and that's why none of this is kind of gross to me. This is like natural, and I do have to temper myself sometimes at lunch about not talking about too many gross things, because anything else from anybody?
Is the duckling yours too?
No, the duckling is not mine, and I purchased the duckling because I wanted to look at it, and I wanted to, perhaps feel it and squeeze it, which you can't really do in the shop. Or else I'll have that one over there, please. Anything else?
Well, Jennabeth, I'm happy just on behalf of everyone here to thank you so much for an interesting presentation. I know you're passionate.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you.